Welcome to St. Lucie Public Schools. This is your Transportation Department Training and Development. This training session will outline the process of FEFP reports. An extra worksheet is not needed. All attendance tracking is done online through Safe Schools. You will be paid for 30 minutes of training pay, and you'll need to pass the quiz to receive the credit. There is no need to print or email your certificates as we pull the completion reports directly from Safe Schools. Again, an extra worksheet is not needed. The purpose of this training is to educate our staff on the overall process of the Florida Education Finance Program, otherwise known as FEFP. The St. Lucie Public Schools Transportation Department heavily relies on the accuracy in reporting from our bus drivers as we count our student ridership. It is essential in order to obtain the necessary funding from government agencies to cover the cost associated with transporting students to and from school. Each and every student that boards our buses needs to be accounted for. So what exactly is FEFP? It's how school districts receive funds from the federal government. All school funding, including transportation, is a blend of federal, state, and local dollars. The St. Lucie Public Schools Transportation Department is required to conduct an FEFP survey count 4 times a year. 2 are done during the regular school year and 2 over the summer. Basically, FEFP is what pays us. The purpose of these survey counts are to identify which students are actively riding on our buses in order to be paid for the cost associated with transporting students to and from school. Once the FEFP count is over, the Florida Department of Education comes in to audit our reports. Each bubble sheet is carefully reviewed in comparison with school attendance records. They look to make sure the school records match our records. If they find any inconsistencies, such as students marked as riding when they did not ride during the count week, they will perform a further investigation to determine which report is accurate. If we are found to be inaccurate, we must pay back the money that has been paid to us along with any penalties that are assessed for falsifying information. Keep in mind, the student only has to ride 1 day during the count week in order to receive funding. You are to begin your counting process on Monday, February 3rd. You will receive your FEFP folder on Friday, January 31st, or the morning of February 3rd. Included in your folder will be bubble sheets for the PM, unless your route is different in the AM and PM, blank write-in sheet, a midday sheet if you're assigned one, and the instructions on how to count for FEFP. Reports are due no later than Friday, February 7th after your AM run. Again, reports must be turned in before going out on your PM run. We need enough time to reconcile the data before sending to the state of Florida. You must turn in your folders on time. Here is some important information to keep in mind when completing your reports. You may use pen or pencil to complete the FEFP report. And if your sheets get damaged, contact Ms. Cruz for a reprint. The contact information will be available at the end of this training. You get paid to complete your FEFP reports, so please take your time. Be thorough. We need to make sure we are getting the correct count. So that means pay attention to your riders, both in the AM and the PM. And stock up on student cards. You can hand these to students as they board the bus and then collect them as they get off the bus. These help take the guests out of the game. Now let's take some time to review the bubble sheets. The very first thing you should do upon receiving your folder is print and sign your name on every sheet inside of the folder. You'll notice the date is already pre-populated. Now looking at the left-hand corner, you'll see the route identifying information. And directly below that is a list of your riders, student names, and their 562 number. They will be listed in order by bus stop. For example, Lenny, his stop is at Starfish and Gemini. Now let's look at the center section with the bubbles. Please do not bubble any of these in. You will only bubble the days under the week. You are to monitor and log your students' boarding every day for the next 5 days. And clearly bubble in the circle under the first day the student rode the bus. Again, we only need 1 day bubbled. This is a big time saver for you. If they rode the bus multiple days of the week, you still only need to fill out the first day the student rode. If they did not ride on Monday, but rode on Tuesday, leave Monday blank and bubble in Tuesday. If the student did not ride any of the 5 days, leave all of the bubbles blank. Never mark a student as riding if they did not board your bus during this count week. When you have completed your bubble sheets, you'll need to double check that every single page is signed in the box in the top right-hand side. Again, the date will be pre-populated for you, but you still must print and sign your name on each and every sheet in your folder. Any forms not signed will be returned and can jeopardize funds, as the state considers unsigned reports as incomplete reports. So just take a few extra minutes and make sure that each and every page has your name printed and signed. You'll notice several barcodes all over the bubble sheets. We use scanners to capture each rider. Please be very careful not to write over any barcodes. If the code is compromised, it will not scan, resulting in the student not being added to the count. If you made an error on your bubble sheet or it somehow gets damaged, again, we can print a new sheet for you. See your area manager or you can contact Ms. Cruz. What is a write-in? Students are always coming and going into the school district, and routes consistently change. Although we do our best to make sure the routes are as up to date as possible, it's almost impossible to keep them current with the ever-changing influx in students. Therefore, there may come a time that a student rides your bus and he or she is not listed on your bubble sheet. When this happens, you'll need to manually document their information on the write-in sheet provided to you in your FEFP folder. From there, the student will be added to the route in Bus Planner, as long as the student is eligible for busing. And the next time your route is printed, it would reflect the new student. Keep in mind that just because a student boards your bus does not mean they should be. There can be multiple reasons why a student has been deemed ineligible for school transportation. If it is determined that a student you have listed on the write-in sheet is not eligible for transportation, they will not be added to the route. Now we're going to spend a few minutes looking at a write-in sheet. Again, if a student rides your bus and is not listed on your bubble sheets, you'll need to properly complete a write-in sheet. Notice the columns: date rode, school, grade, first name, last name, ID number, and the bus stop. Please make sure to write clear, as we have to take the information from the write-in sheet and manually add it to the final count report. If we're unable to read the info, we may lose funding for those students. Please do not list birthdays, phone numbers, or addresses, as we're not able to research by that. Only list the required info for each column. If you don't know the student ID number, please leave that column blank. That's where we will need to research it and fill it in. When you have completed your count, you'll need to make sure that you sign, print, and date across the top of the page. Don't forget to include your route number and your area manager. And remember, any incomplete forms will be returned to drivers for proper completion. You will only have a midday sheet in your folder if you are assigned a midday. And the midday sheets look exactly like a bubble sheet, except they're printed on a different color. You'll follow the same instructions when completing your midday bubble sheet as you would your regular bubble sheet. And don't forget, print and sign in the top box. The date will be pre-populated for you. Here are some common questions and answers that we've seen in the past. Question: what if I have a student that always rides but just happens to not ride all week? Can I just mark him as road? Absolutely not. This is considered falsifying information and can cost us a penalty. That is why there is multiple counts. We'll just catch him or her on the next count. Question: what if I turn in my report and a student shows up to ride that hasn't rode all week? How do I mark her? Not a problem. Just grab a blank write-in sheet. There are some in the driver's lounge. Just make sure you turn it into your area manager as soon as you complete it, and we'll get the student added. Question: do I have to wait until Friday to turn in my report if I'm finished with it sooner? No. If you can complete your report before Friday, please turn it into your area manager as soon as you complete it. That helps us get a head start on the final count. Question: my bubble sheet got damaged. Who can help me? Your area manager should always be your first point of contact. However, Ms. Cruz can assist with anything related to FEFP. And when in doubt, put them on your write-in sheet. We can exclude any duplicates on the final report. Let's have a quick review. The purpose of these counts are to identify which students are actively riding on our buses in order to be paid for the cost associated with transporting students to and from school. The student only needs to ride one day during the count week in order for us to get the funding. So we have students that ride our buses to and from school. From there, we complete our FEFP counts and submit them to the state of Florida. Based on those reports, the state of Florida will send money down to St. Lucie Public Schools, and then it gets filtered down to the transportation department. Once the FEFP count is over, the Florida Department of Education comes in and performs an audit of all of our reports. Again, each bubble sheet is carefully reviewed in comparison with school attendance records for accuracy. If they find inaccurate information, such as students marked as riding when they did not ride during the count week, we must pay back the money that has been paid to us, along with any penalties that are assessed for falsifying info.
In case you missed it, let's recap. The count week is Monday, February 3rd through Friday, February 7th. You will only need to fill in one bubble. Pen or pencil is okay to complete the reports. Please do not make any markings on any of the barcodes. Make sure you are completing the report in full with all of the required information. Fill in the bubble for the first day only the student rode the bus during the count week. If the student did not ride during the count week, Do not fill in any bubbles. Pay attention to all your riders, both in the AM and the PM. Don't just guess. If a student rides your bus and is not on the bubble sheet, you'll need to complete a write-in sheet. Please do not list birthdays, phone numbers, or addresses on the write-in sheets. We cannot look them up by that. If you do not know the student ID, leave that column blank, and your area manager will research it for you. If you have a student that rides after you turn in your FEFP report, just fill it out on another write-in sheet. Write clear and be sure you are signing and dating all of your forms, including the write-in sheets. Your reports are due to your area manager no later than Friday, February 7th after your AM run. Again, turn in those reports before you go out for your PM run on Friday, February 7th.
If you need further training on the FEFP reporting process, please see Mrs. Cruz in the South Compound, or you may contact me directly at the information below. All staff will be held accountable to meet all the expectations set forth by the Transportation Management Team. If you have any questions about this training or any other training, please speak with your immediate manager. Your training is now complete. Thank you. Please proceed to the following quiz. You'll need to pass it in order to receive credit for this training.